This is Dorian Day, and welcome to Serum in Depth number 12. In this video, we're going to be going over to how to resolve the issue that we had at the end of the last video by supplying Serum with the format of waveform that it expects for single cycle waveforms. And we're also going to be going over the techniques of the last video, but using Audacity, a free program. Now, Audacity comes from Mac and PC, and it's free. The only recommendations I have is that when you open it, disable all of your plugins. It has an option asking you. I've always had problems with that. So now let's get started. So we're going to start by generating a noise file and a saw file, just like the last video. Freeze, flatten. Let's do this one first. Show in Finder. Also, I always edit the file directly. Okay, we're going to start by cutting off the unnecessary portions, because we just need a good loopable section so we can just cut off most of everything. Anything that's not convenient. And then we zoom in, get to the ends. Now this waveform edit view is a little bit different than in the other program, but still manageable. So pretty much you have to click around and hit Z until you get a zero crossing. Okay, yeah, that reminds me. So with noise, for whatever reason, the program has quite a difficult time finding a true zero crossing where it actually crosses over the zero phase line. As you can see, each one of these dots is a sample, and they move in a somewhat unpredictable pattern compared to a waveform like a saw or something. And of course it's unpredictable because it's noise. And because of that, it seems that the program has trouble sometimes getting what appears to be a crossing, because it seems like it's crossing all over the place. But this is the first one where when I hit Z, which is what moves the cursor to zero crossing, you click around, you hit Z. Most of the time, it's been going to spots that don't look like it's actually crossing, but this one looks like it is. So we're going to hold Shift and drag to the right and hit Command X on Mac. And even then, you can still see that it's not 100% perfect. Try one more time. That is a good enough result. Let's see about that. Shift. Not bad. Maybe marginally better than before. All right, now we have to go to the beginning. Same thing. Click, hold, press C. Looks okay. I'll try again. Click, press C, it goes to the same place. All right, that looks pretty good. Okay, there, that looks like it cycles through pretty well. All right, no, I don't actually want to save. I want to export. Just going to save that to the desktop. Okay, and now I'm going to do the saw. Once again, cut off the ends. Click, press Z. It's a little particular. Interesting. So if the zero crossing isn't working, then you pretty much have to click in and get pretty close. Drag back or zoom out and hold shift. There, that's pretty good. All right, so we are going up at the beginning, and at the end we need to be on the down portion. So we cross back up over here. Try and hit Z. Yeah, it's just not grabbing to there for whatever reason. So let's just click. See how close it'll get. It won't. It'll only let you grab halfway in between each dot, so this is the closest we're gonna get. Yeah, I gotta zoom out. All right, hold shift. Hit X. And now we're on an upswing here. And we're at the top here. Once again, export to the desktop, massive saw. Going to Serum. So that was Serum presets, noises, user noise, and then I'm going to drag in massive noise and massive saw. Re-drag in Serum. Turn on the noise oscillator, and then grab massive noise first. And then massive saw. Pitch tracking. Probably should have normalized those files. I'm going to do this in Wave Editor because it's faster. But yeah, Audacity has a normalize function, so you could just check that out. Now it's louder. Okay, so that does it for how to do the processes of the last video using Audacity. Now we're going to go into the more advanced topic of creating a single cycle waveform. Now we tried to do that at the end of the last video, but we were running into some problems. And that was, I think, due to a number of factors. I think, first of all, Serum expects a certain minimum length or something internally. I mean, it's described in the manual that it says Serum internally uses 2048 samples for each single cycle. So I know that definitely pertains to the oscillators A, and I guess it probably pertains to the noise oscillators. Either that, or I was just in general having a hard time lining it up without the precision associated with what we're going to do right now. So how I discovered, aside from reading the manual, what was going on with Serum's single cycle waveforms is I used the export waveform feature. So if you just go in here and click on whatever slice you have, so in this example I have the default saw, and you click export, you can export this selection, and it's going to export just that slice. So on the desktop I now have the Serum saw, and it's just a saw wave, a single cycle. Now we can see some interesting information about this if we open up in Audacity. If you click anywhere and then hit the end button, you'll see that it's 2048 samples long. 2048. Now there's some other information down here about the best ways to cycle or record a note to get a good result, and I sort of used that as a guide point, and I also did some of my own calculations to figure this out. So if you want to figure out what note this is, or the range, yeah, basically what note this is, you need to bring up a calculator, and you need to know some information about digital audio. Well, first of all, we're at a sample rate of 44.1, so every second we're sampling 44,100 times, and this is a 2048 sample long clip. So we know that this runs for 2048 divided by 44100. It runs for this portion of a second. You can Google more about this if you don't quite understand it. So if we have this, if our wave cycle runs for this portion of a second and we invert it, we get its frequency. And can we invert here? Copy 1 divided by paste. We get 21.5. Now, if I refer to my note frequency chart I have taped to my desk, I see that this is close to an F-1, which is 21.827 hertz. Now, what this does for us is it tells us that that's a good note for our starting point, and you can see that it's pretty close to Steve Duda's suggested note, at least in terms of it being an F. And with the sample rate being slightly different, I could see that shifting. It's about an octave higher and slightly shifted upwards. So we're staying at 44.1, and we're going to be using an F about an octave lower than what's suggested in the manual. And we're going to see what that gives us and how we can get it even closer to this ideal waveform we just exported out of Serum. So let's use this massive waveform. Actually, no, we can't, because it has to be lower. F -1. Pretty low. Okay, so what do we do? Well, I just chop off most of it like I've been doing. I zoom in and do like we were doing before, except for I'm going to be getting a whole cycle, just one single cycle this time. Okay. See how Snap is working right now. Not so good. Snap is kind of hit or miss. You can try from the menu. Yeah, not really. Zoom out, hold shift. All right. Now we have our single cycle. Starts at 0 samples. You can see down here. Move forward. We go to 1836. This is zoomed into this pretty darn close to the sample level. All right, get even more off. All right, that's perfect. Now I'm using my arrow keys to click over, and you can see that when I align the cursor line, timeline, with where our waveform finally ends, we have 1830 samples. Now we want 2048 in the end, so there's some math that we can do. Now we're going to take 1830 minus 2040 plus 1 divided by 2040. Sorry. 1830 minus 2048 plus 1 divided by 2048. I think I might have done that wrong one. Yeah. Start with 2048 to make sure you get the signs right. Minus 1830 plus 1. And then divided by 2048. Okay. Times 100. So we need to change this clip by roughly 10.7% to get it to 2048 samples. So if you go up to Effect and you do change speed, we need to change it by -10 because our clip is faster, so we can just slow it down. Six nine three three. Just type in as many decibels as you can. All right, click in, go to the end, and what do we have? We have 2050. So if your calculation's slightly off, just delete some of it at the end. And depending, you should probably aim to try for 2047 like we have, because I found that when you save it, it's saving an extra one. At least it does occasionally. Let's test this. Single cycle saw. Drag it back in. Click forward, 2048. So yeah, so you should do 2047 so that when you export, you have 2048. I don't know what's going on with that. Let's drag it into Ableton and give it a look. There it is. There's our single cycle. We can drag it into Serum. There it is. Yeah. You can see it doesn't 100% show up to the phase point, at least in this editor in Serum. Let's put it into the wave or the noise oscillator. Restart Serum. Need to normalize it. Normalize the file. Hit save. I normalized the wrong one. So there you go, a perfect saw, straight out of Massive into Serum's noise oscillator. A single cycle, no less, because we already show how it's pretty easy to do using just a long sample or noise. But trying to put a single cycle is somewhat difficult, and you have to go through the process that we just did above. In the middle of making this video and trying to figure out the problems I was reading on the Xfer forums, and someone was asking about this, and Steve Duda gave his opinion on what to do. He said something. He said that if you're going to try and do audio editing like we did, that you pretty much have to try and line up and guess and hope you get close in not so many words. thankfully we found a way to calculate and do a perfect shift. But there is another way that he recommended using Serum itself, and it goes like this. So you put out a somewhat long file like that, and then you drag it in to the import window, and you do the third one down, constant frame size, pitch average. And it gives you a pretty good drag through. You could take maybe yeah, the last time I did this, I got better results. Here, there you go. I guess I dragged in a better file. Not sure what the difference between the two are. Let's hear them. Interesting. Well, anyways, so we find this one is about the closest to ours. Come into here, number 64, and we can export this. Now it's on the desktop. And yeah, so as you can see, when it exported it, it goes a little bit over the positive direction on the right over here. And it doesn't start at 0 on the left. Open up an Audacity. It's 2048 samples exactly. So, not sure what to take away from this exactly. Our results pretty close. Sounds sonically rather equivalent. And, you know, the noise oscillator isn't really meant for this anyway, so if we get this close, that's amazing. I think that pretty much settles it. From here, we're going to go into how to use audio editing to construct multiple of these sequences to create wavetables, which is at the heart of Serum and has quite a history, as I've come to learn. And I've found a number of wavetables associated with other synthesizers that hopefully we can get into Serum, that some of them sound pretty interesting, and that's what's to come. So thanks.